Good morning and welcome back to World Talks. I'm Salia Stremska, and the topic of our discussion this morning is going to be Serbia. So Serbia plays a nuanced role in international politics, influenced by its geographic position in the Balkans and its historical and political complexities. A candidate for the EU membership since 2012, it continues to negotiate the accession process. What is the main hindrance here? And are Serbia's efforts to balance relations with the EU, Russia, China and the US paying out? To discuss, I am joined here this morning by Rigers Halili, Director of Balkan Studies, University of Warsaw. Good morning, sir. Delighted to have you with us.
Good morning. Delighted to be with you today.
So before we embark on our discussion, let's take a quick look at a report that we prepared.
Russia's war of aggression in Ukraine has brought clarity. You have to choose to be on the right side of history and on the side of the international law.
Topping the agenda for the European Commission leaders' visit will be the EU's €6 billion growth plan. The 4-day tour is also part of a consistent policy of visiting candidate countries to boost the process. The EU push into the Balkans continues today with Prime Minister Donald Tusk and his Greek counterpart, Kyriakos Mitsotakis, visiting Belgrade. As Tusk's trip coincides with the BRICS summit in Russia, Serbian President Vučić had to decline President Putin's invitation.
There is an expected unanimity in the context of the sanctions towards Russia, in the context of the appropriate assessment of the situation, and Serbia continues to resist this expectation.
Western Balkan accession into the EU becomes a more pressing issue in light of Russia's aggression to Ukraine. However, there are still some hurdles to clear along the way, normalization of relations between Kosovo and Serbia being one of them. Russia's approach to the EU-led dialogue has been characterized as hybrid warfare designed to disrupt the accession negotiations.
We need a new dynamic in the normalization process between Serbia and Kosovo. So I wish to say the following to our friends from Belgrade and Pristina today. Please do not allow the past to hold you back on your path towards a peaceful and prosperous future.
Serbia has not joined Western sanctions against Russia and has announced recently that it will not change its approach.
Serbia is a key player in the region. It is very important in the context of enlargement as well. It plays its own policy in the region, sometimes with contradictory priorities to the EU. And in that sense, it is very important to know what options are on the table. So in that sense, I think that the Polish delegation will have high expectations.
Serbia's integration into the EU will be one of the key topics for the Polish presidency of the Council of the EU, which begins January 25.
So as we've just heard, Polish Prime Minister is on a visit to Serbia as we speak. He went to discuss Serbia's EU accession. The process has been underway for over 10 years now. So my question is, why is Serbia's progress and reform implementation so slow? Especially because other countries from former Yugoslavia, such as Croatia, managed very well and are already part of the EU.
The reasons are several. It's not only due to the Serbian policy, but it's also due to the lack of decision by the EU. And it has a sort of a rather dynamic here situation. It's not only Serbia that is, let's call it, responsible for that. It's also the policy of EU that has delayed the accession process with all the Western Balkan countries. The enlargement was not in the agenda in 2014-15, so the negotiations are going on very slowly with Serbia and Montenegro, but have just started with Albania. And Northern Macedonia is left aside due to the policy issues and the political issues that Macedonia or Bulgaria has with Macedonia. They are more cultural, so to speak. So in the sense, it's a complex, in that sense, it's a complex situation. It does not relate only to Serbia. However, what is the Serbian side is the change of policy after the coming to power of Aleksandar Vučić as president of Serbia, where clearly Serbian politics changed from a pro-European, openly and firmly pro-European course towards more as they call it, polyvectorious. It's a policy that has to will give Serbia an ability to maneuver not only solely within EU, but also in other directions. And China, Russia, Turkey are these directions that we see in the last 10 or more even years. So it is both ways that have delayed this process, both parties. That is, I think, the clear answer to your question.
Right, and the evidence of what you just said seems to be the fact that Poland's prime minister is in Serbia and Serbian deputy prime minister is attending the BRICS summit in Kazan, Russia. So it is a little bit of a disconnect, perhaps too much so. I mean, how is Serbia imagining it could reconcile being a part of a pro-Russian alliance and then being a part of the EU in the future?
I think Serbia has put or the Serbian politicians are firmly thinking only about Kosovo and also Bosnia and Herzegovina. Let's not forget about that. It's not that the Serbian politicians are thinking only about Kosovo. They are bringing up a Serbian issue in the Balkans. They are also discussing the future of Bosnia, which is not on the agenda for the time being, but is being discussed almost every day in the Serbian press. There is a cacophony between the two situations, because yesterday in the evening, President Vučić was giving an informal dinner for Prime Minister Tusk and Prime Minister Mitsotakis. So probably they have talked about the EU, Serbian integration, and so on and so forth. And in that very same moment, the Serbian Deputy Prime Minister Vulin was giving a declaration to RIA Novosti that Serbia wants to join BRICS. But you cannot be a member of BRICS and a member of EU at the same time. There is also a change in the public opinion. 15 years ago, there was, according to the polls, about 67% of Serbian population wanted Serbia to join EU. That number today is only 47%, whereas 42% of Serbian population wants Serbia to join BRICS. So it is Serbian politicians will have to make a decision at some point in the nearest future, because you cannot dance on two melodies at the same time. It's only one that will give the priority. They will have to give the priority. So it is a cacophony, and I don't think the visit of Prime Minister Tusk will change anything in that direction, because it's just a matter of discussion for the time being. And I'm guessing the main topic will be the future of integration process during the Polish presidency. Let's not forget also that a few days ago in Serbia, the Prime Minister Orban and Prime Minister Fico met also with President Vučić, and clearly Vučić made it clear that these two countries are the closest allies of Serbia within EU, and we are all aware of the problems that EU has with Prime Minister Orban and a little bit with Prime Minister Fico. So it is a sort of a bloc that might change the course of policies also of EU towards Serbia. We'll see what will happen.
Right, and you've mentioned the declining support for joining the EU among the Serbian population. What are the reasons for this?
I think it's both external, again, as the delaying of the process of integration is both. I think the delay from the EU side to advance with the enlargement process, not only for Serbia but for the entire Western Balkans, which has led to a clearly visible EU fatigue in Serbia, not in Albania, not in North Macedonia, not in Bosnia and Herzegovina in the federation part, but clearly in Serbia. That is very visible. And also because the political aspect of the issue is that the Serbian politicians since a long time already are speaking openly and freely on daily basis about the close alliance with Russia, with China, when this was very much evident also during the pandemic. But it's not only that, it was before and it has continued further on after the pandemic. So it's not an issue related only to the fact that the Chinese vaccine made it earlier to Serbia and to the Balkans than the EU-produced vaccines. It's not about that. So this has not changed. It has been a steady course on the Serbian political establishment to have close relations with Russia. And of course, also Russia knows that. The Russian ambassador in Belgrade is kind of the main ambassador in the Balkans who coordinates the policy of Russia towards the Western and entirely the Balkans. There is a Center for Humanitarian Aid, it is called, in Niš, which is clearly a sort of a hub for other activities than humanitarian aid, and there are clearly reports. I'm not giving you here any secrets. There are clear reports about spying activity from that center. So it is a sort of a double policy. But there are also politicians in Serbia who are in opposition, who clearly speak about EU integration, who clearly criticize the policy of Aleksandar Vučić and Aleksandar Vulin or Ivica Dačić. So it is a sort of a dynamic also internally in Serbia that might change the situation. Not just a few days ago, the European Parliament nominated a Croatian to be the spokesperson of the European Parliament for Serbia, which was somehow understood by the Serbian politicians, by President Vučić and head of the parliament, former Prime Minister Brnabić, as a clear message that EU is treating Serbia badly, because a Croatian will have to report on Serbia to the European Parliament, which is clearly a sign of holding strong to the past, to the former past in Serbia, much firmer than, as you mentioned, much firmer than the European would expect Serbia to do so.
Right, so we had a Serbian ambassador to Poland speak about some of Serbia's policies towards Russia and the EU on TV World show On the Record. So I thought we could perhaps take a listen to this soundbite, and you might want to comment on this. So let's take a listen.
Russia is a great power, not only one great power. And of course, all states want to have good relations with great powers. I'm talking historically now.
Okay.
And if we talk about today, you know, yes, territorial integrity is one very important issue for us, as it is for Ukraine. That's why Ukraine never recognized Kosovo, you know, like Russia never recognized Kosovo, because it's about territorial integrity, I may tell you that. And when it comes to other things, you know, Russia didn't introduce sanctions to us or did some other things. In that sense, we maintained good relations with it. But to talk about some kind of alliance, I think it's exaggeration. It was historically country with whom we maintained good relations. But to talk that we're looking only towards Russia, I think it's an exaggeration, and it's not true, actually. First foreign policy goal for us is membership in European Union. That's one thing you should remember and know.
So what are your thoughts on what has been said?
Well, I agree with Ambassador that the main aim of the Serbian policy is to integrate to the EU, and also I agree with him that he was very clear in the sense that in territorial integrity of Serbia is at stake here. But he is unrealistic. Kosovo is a fact. The state of Kosovo exists, is recognized by, well, okay, 5 EU member countries have not recognized, but the other countries have recognized Kosovo. I would not say that Russia is a great power. Russia has possible, of course, big possibilities in terms of armament and in terms of nuclear weapons, yes, but the GDP of Russia is equal to that of Belgium and Holland combined, Netherlands combined. So I would not use that Russia is a great country. I would not say also that there are very close ties, because if you look at the FDI, foreign development investments in Serbia, the majority of that comes from EU countries and from Turkey. Russia is in the 7th place. So it's not that Russia is being very close to Serbia in that sense. I think Russia is using Serbia, and Serbia is using this connection with Russia to gain in other parts of its policy. It remains to be seen that what is going to happen. Definitely the war in Ukraine has turned EU attention towards the Western Balkans and towards enlargement, that is for sure. And indeed, and he is right also that Ukraine has not recognized Kosovo, but Ukraine has not recognized also South Ossetia, that Russia has done so. So right. It is between saying some things that are true and some other things that are not true that we allow to. I'm not a diplomat, he's a diplomat, so the diplomats have to say things that they have to say.
Right, and certainly the issue of Kosovo is crucial, as Ursula von der Leyen has said. It is vital that Kosovo and Serbia normalize their relations, of course, vital for the future EU integration. Rigels Halili, thank you so much for being with us this morning. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Have a lovely day.
And thank you for watching World Talks. Please stay tuned for more here on TVP World.